They told me to go live in the streets at Thanksgiving. Can you believe that? My own parents, sitting across from me at a table laden with food, on a holiday meant for gratitude and family, looked me dead in the eye and essentially disowned me. They had no idea, absolutely no idea, that the son they were casting out was earning $25 million a year. And in less than 3 weeks, they were going to regret those words more than anything they had ever said in their lives. Tell me, would you have reacted the same way I did? Would you have let them feel the full weight of their contempt, only to hit them with a truth that would shatter their entire world? Let me take you back to where it all began, long before the lavish Thanksgiving feast and the cruel pronouncement. My name is Alex, and my relationship with my parents, Mark and Susan, has always been complicated. Growing up, they were obsessed with appearances, with status, with projecting an image of the perfect, affluent family. The problem was, we weren't affluent. My dad was a middle manager at a dying manufacturing company, and my mom was a part-time real estate agent who struggled to close deals. We lived in a decent suburban house, but every penny was accounted for, and often there wasn't enough. Their solution, to constantly remind me of our supposed lack, and to push me relentlessly towards a career that would bring them the financial stability and social standing they craved. For them, that meant law, medicine, or high finance, something respectable, something that came with a six-figure salary and bragging rights. I, on the other hand, was always drawn to computers. From the moment I first touched a keyboard, I was hooked. I loved the logic, the creativity, the endless possibilities. I spent all my free time coding, building websites, experimenting with software. My parents saw it as a childish hobby, a distraction from real studies. "Alex, stop wasting your time on that screen," my dad would grumble, walking by my room. "Go read a book. Learn something useful." My mom was even worse. "What are you going to do with that, Alex? Become a glorified IT guy? We're not paying for you to go to college to fix printers." Their disdain was palpable, a constant undercurrent in our home. They envisioned me in a suit, carrying a briefcase, making important phone calls. I envisioned myself creating something new, something innovative, something that could change the world. These conflicting visions created a chasm between us that only grew wider with each passing year. When it came time for college, the pressure intensified. They wanted me to apply to Ivy League schools, specifically for pre-law or pre-med programs. I wanted to go to a state university with a strong computer science program. We fought constantly. They accused me of being ungrateful, of not understanding the sacrifices they had made for me. I accused them of trying to live their unfulfilled dreams through me. Eventually, I caved, or at least, I pretended to. I applied to a few of their chosen schools, but secretly, I also applied to the computer science program at State U. When the acceptance letter from State U came, along with a scholarship offer, I saw my chance. I showed them the offer, framing it as a financial necessity, a way to save them money. They weren't thrilled, but the scholarship was a strong argument, and after weeks of tense negotiations, they reluctantly agreed. It was a partial victory, but a victory nonetheless. College was my escape, my sanctuary. I thrived in the computer science program, excelling in my classes and immersing myself in extracurriculars. I joined coding clubs, participated in hackathons, and even started a small freelancing business building websites for local businesses. This was where I truly came alive. I was building, creating, innovating. I was finally on my own path, away from the constant scrutiny and judgment of my parents. I barely called home, and when I did, the conversations were always strained. They'd ask about my grades, but never about my projects or my passions. They'd inquire about my career prospects, always steering the conversation back to respectable fields. I quickly learned to give them vague answers, to minimize my achievements in the tech world, because anything I accomplished that wasn't in their narrow definition of success was met with a dismissive wave of the hand. After graduation, the real tug-of-war began. They expected me to go to law school or business school. I had other plans. During my senior year, I had developed a unique algorithm, a sophisticated piece of software that could revolutionize data analysis for a specific niche market. It was complex, elegant, and incredibly powerful. I had already secured a significant amount of seed funding from a venture capitalist I'd met at a tech conference. I was ready to launch my own startup. I tried to explain this to my parents, to convey the potential, the excitement, the sheer magnitude of what I was building. Their reaction was exactly what I had come to expect. A startup? Alex, are you serious? Those things fail all the time. You need a stable job, benefits, a pension. What about law school? We know a great firm. It was the same old song and dance. I finally gave up trying to make them understand. I decided to pursue my dream in silence, to build my company without their approval or even their knowledge. For the next 5 years, I poured every ounce of my energy into my startup. It was a brutal, exhilarating, often lonely journey. There were sleepless nights, countless rejections, moments of self-doubt that threatened to consume me. But I persevered. I refined my algorithm, expanded my team, and secured more funding. Slowly, painstakingly, my vision began to materialize. The software gained traction, disrupting the market and attracting major clients. We went from a small team working out of a rented office to a rapidly growing company with hundreds of employees and a global reach. The revenue started pouring in, first in the hundreds of thousands, then millions, then tens of millions. I was living the dream, a dream my parents had actively discouraged every step of the way. But they didn't know. I kept my success a closely guarded secret. Why? Because I knew their reaction wouldn't be pride, but ownership. They'd say, "See, we always knew you could do it," or "It's all thanks to the values we instilled in you." They wouldn't acknowledge my struggle, my passion, my independent spirit. They would try to take credit for something they had tried to stifle. So, I maintained the facade of the struggling, somewhat eccentric tech guy, just getting by. This brings us back to Thanksgiving. I had agreed to come home, mostly out of a sense of familial obligation and a faint, lingering hope that maybe, just maybe, things had changed. Maybe they'd finally see me as an adult, capable of making my own choices. I arrived at their house, a house that now felt small and stifling to me, despite my efforts to keep my own life modest and understated. The usual relatives were there, my aunt and uncle, my 2 cousins. The conversation quickly turned to careers, as it always did. My cousin, Mark Jr., was proudly recounting his recent promotion at his accounting firm. My other cousin, Sarah, was talking about her successful real estate ventures. My parents beamed, nodding approvingly. Then the spotlight turned to me. "So, Alex," my dad began, his tone laced with thinly veiled condescension, "still fiddling with those computers. Found a real job yet?" I tried to explain, subtly at first. "Dad, I'm doing quite well, actually. My company is growing, we're making a real impact in our field." He scoffed. "Impact? What kind of impact? Are you making enough to buy a house, to support a family, because Mark Jr. just bought a 3-bedroom in a great neighborhood?" My mom chimed in, "We just want to see you settled, Alex. We want you to have stability. This startup nonsense, it's just a gamble. When are you going to grow up and get a proper job? The familiar sting of their disapproval, sharper than usual, coursed through me. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I looked around the table. No one was truly listening, no one cared. They just wanted to confirm their preconceived notions about me. I tried one last time, a desperate attempt to bridge the gap. My company is valued at over $100 million, Mom. We're about to go public. I'm doing more than just getting by. The words hung in the air for a moment. Then my dad let out a booming laugh. Oh, Alex, always the dreamer. $100 million. Next you'll tell us you're a billionaire. Come on, be serious. You're probably just running some obscure website out of your garage, barely making rent. My mom, not to be outdone, added, honestly, Alex, it's embarrassing. All your cousins are doing so well, and you're still playing games. We're tired of making excuses for you to our friends. Tell them you're working in tech, but they know what that means. It means you're unemployed or working some dead-end job with no future. That was it. That was the moment. The dam broke. All the years of their belittling, their dismissiveness, their unwavering lack of faith in me, converged into a single, unbearable point. I looked at their faces, contorted with judgment and disappointment, and something inside me snapped. The anger, the hurt, the resentment I had carefully bottled up, threatened to spill over, but I controlled it. I took a deep breath. You know what? I said, my voice surprisingly calm, if you think I'm such a disappointment, if you're so embarrassed by me, then why am I even here? Why am I subjecting myself to this? My dad slammed his fist on the table. Because we're your parents, Alex. We want what's best for you. And if you're not going to listen to us, if you're going to keep living in this fantasy world, then maybe you don't belong here at all. Maybe you should just go live in the streets, since you're so intent on being a failure. My mom nodded vigorously, her eyes blazing. That's right, go. See how far your coding gets you when you're begging for food. The words, raw and venomous, hung in the air. The other relatives shifted uncomfortably, but no one intervened. They were used to this dynamic, used to my parents' relentless criticism of me. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I could have swallowed my pride, walked away, and let their cruel words fester. Or I could have fought back, revealed the truth, and thrown their words back in their faces with a force they could never have anticipated. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have left silently, or would you have unleashed the full, shocking truth of your success? I stood up slowly, deliberately. The tension in the room was suffocating. I looked at my parents, their faces etched with self-righteous anger. You know what? I said, my voice still calm, but with an edge they hadn't heard before. Maybe I will. Maybe I will go live in the streets, because at least out there, I won't have to listen to people who despise me, people who actively try to tear me down. I paused, letting my words sink in. My dad opened his mouth to retort, but I cut him off. But before I go, I continued, there's something you need to understand. You think I'm a failure. You think I'm playing games. You think I'm barely making rent. I pulled out my phone, navigated to a specific app, and then pushed it across the table towards them. Take a look at that. My dad picked up the phone, a sneer still on his face. He squinted at the screen, then his eyes widened. My mom leaned in, her brow furrowed in confusion, then her jaw dropped. The screen displayed my personal net worth, updated in real time. It was a staggering number, far, far beyond anything they had ever imagined. Below it, a graph showed the rapid, exponential growth of my company's stock value, along with a press release announcing our upcoming IPO and a projected market capitalization of over $1 billion. My annual income, cleanly displayed, read $25,000,000. It wasn't an obscure website from a garage. It was a multi-million-dollar empire built from the ground up. A stunned silence descended upon the table, heavier and more profound than before. My dad's face went from sneering contempt to utter disbelief, then to a sickly shade of green. My mom's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with shock and a dawning horror. My cousins, who had been smugly listening to my parents' tirade, now stared at the phone with open mouths. The air was thick with the sudden, crushing weight of their realization. They had told their multi-millionaire son, the CEO of a rapidly ascending tech company, to go live in the streets. My dad finally managed to stammer, "Hey Alex, what is this? Is this real?" His voice was a thin whisper, all the bluster gone. "It's real, Dad," I replied, my voice cool and even. "It's the company you told me was nonsense. It's the playing games that you said would lead me to begging for food. This is my dead-end job with no future." I pointed to the part of the screen showing my income. $25 million a year, Dad, and that's just salary and bonuses. My equity stake is worth far more. My mom started to tear up. "Alex, why didn't you tell us? We just wanted you to be happy, to be successful." Her voice trailed off, a pathetic attempt to rewrite history. "No, Mom," I said, cutting her off. "You wanted me to be successful on your terms. You wanted me to be happy doing what you thought was respectable. You never once believed in my dreams. You actively tried to crush them. You told me to go live in the streets at Thanksgiving, remember? That's what you think of my worth." The next few minutes were a blur of apologies, stammering explanations, and desperate attempts to backtrack. My dad tried to hug me, to tell me how proud he was. My mom started crying, saying how sorry she was, how they'd just misunderstood. My cousins, now completely deflated, tried to offer awkward congratulations, but it was too late. The words they had uttered, the years of dismissal, the complete lack of faith it had all been building to this moment, and their sudden shift, their transparent attempts to claim ownership of my success, only solidified my resolve. "Don't worry," I said, pulling away from my dad's outstretched arm. "You won't have to make excuses for me anymore. You won't have to be embarrassed." I looked at them, my heart heavy but my resolve firm. "Because I won't be coming around for any more holidays. In fact, I don't think I'll be coming around at all." I walked out of the house, leaving behind the stunned silence, the overflowing plates of food, and the shattered illusions of the perfect family. In the 3 weeks that followed, the IPO of my company was a monumental success. The stock soared, and my net worth skyrocketed even further. The news was everywhere. Major business publications, financial news channels, tech blogs, they all featured my company and my story. And inevitably, my parents saw it. They called, they texted, they even showed up at my office once, desperately trying to reconnect, to apologize again, to somehow reclaim a piece of the son they had so cruelly disowned. But I held firm. I replied to none of their messages. I instructed my security to ensure they were not allowed on company property. The irony was not lost on me. The wealth and success they had craved for me, they now had to witness from a distance, completely removed from its benefits. They had cast me out for not fitting their mold, for pursuing my own path, and that very path had led to a level of achievement they could only dream of. The streets they wanted me to live in were now paved with gold, and I was walking on them, while they were left to stare from the sidelines. It was a harsh lesson, perhaps, but one they desperately needed to learn. So, that's my story. It's a painful one, filled with years of misunderstanding and a final, brutal confrontation. But it's also a story of triumph, of proving yourself against all odds, and finding success on your own terms. It taught me that sometimes the people who are supposed to support you the most can be your biggest critics, and that true strength comes from believing in yourself, even when no one else does. Like this video if you were on my side, and subscribe for more stories like this. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.